As all of you know, King Leatherbury walked into the Hall of Fame this morning along with Ken Taylor, who's co-owner of Xtra Heat, champion Maryland bred filly in 2001. And just to get started, gentlemen, could just talk about your reaction to the honor this morning and what it means to you.
Go ahead.
First of all, I'd like to thank being present with King T. Leatherbury. I've been watching King T. Leatherbury for 40 years, and it's a pleasure to be sitting here with him. I wanted to say that first. As far as the horse racing is concerned, I never thought in my life, and I've been buying horses for a long time, that I would ever have a horse of that quality to win that many stake races, cost $5,000. It's hard to even imagine something of that feat, but being elected in the Hall of Fame is as big as it gets, and as far as horse racing is concerned, it doesn't matter anymore. I'm good.
Well, I'm very fortunate, and I've had many awards and honors in my career. I've been around a long time, but this course is the top level we can get to in our industry. So I'm very proud and honored to be elected. But I'm just fortunate to be around this long and last as long, because most of the people I started out with are no longer here. So it's just been able to be lucky enough to live this long, I guess, and then to do as well as I've done. It just came my way, a lot of luck involved.
I'm going to open it up to questions.
King, do you think that we can't get into the mind of the voters, but do you think that the career of Ben's cat and you having bred and raised and trained him maybe put you over the top with the voters this time?
Yes, I do. He certainly contributed a lot. He's an amazing horse, and he's lasted so long. He's now 9 years old, just as good as ever, I think. So no question about him keeping my name up in lights, so to speak.
Kenny, were you feeling confident for Xtra Heat this time around that she was going to get in?
You mean with Ben's cat? Oh, you
I was
talking?
talking to Kenny. Although we could feel it from you
go
too
ahead.
in set.
From knowing about sprinters, it's very hard to get in the Hall of Fame as a sprinter. So I never was totally confident that she was going to be in this time. I thought at some point she would be in, but a sprinting filly, 3-year-old filly, is tough. So with Safely Kept getting in, and Rick Wilson rode both of them, he said that she was as good as Safely Kept. So I thought she had a shot.
Have you spoke to Rick Wilson since this?
Not since the Hall of Fame.
King, could you say what you're proudest of from your career? I mean, is it a specific moment, or is it more just that you were able to grind it out over such a long period of time?
Just winning races I've always gotten a thrill. I'm even just a cheap claimer. I get a thrill out of winning, and that's basically what I'm known for, is to win races. It's just added up over the years.
So many of the people that get into the Hall of Fame, King, as trainers, do so because they developed 3-year-olds that went on to the Triple Crown Trail. I think the only one that in my mind that I can remember you is Malibu Moonshine. You had him going on there for a little while. But was that ever anything you were interested in doing at all, was developing those kinds of horses?
Well, if you get something to work with, and any trainer needs horses, and however he acquires them, he does the best he can. You know, if some breeder or somebody comes to you and wants you to take a string of horses, then that trainer has automatically got some quality to work with rather, and then some people just have to get the horses any way they can. The easiest way is to claim, and the quickest way is to claim. So no, if I've started out with homebreds that they weren't much quality to them, but that started us out, and it just grew from there. And as far as adding my stable growing, is basically it was one horse at a time. And what really kicked it off, one time I went to Delaware Park. One year I went to Delaware Park, only had like 7 horses, and ended up 4th leading trainer, which puts your name in front of horse owners that are looking for trainers. And so when I went back to the next year, I picked up some Delaware owners and New Jersey owners and Pennsylvania. It was before Pennsylvania had racing. So that got me started. And then once I started winning races, then winners brought on winners.
Hey, I've read so many messages in the last couple of hours of people expressing congratulations and saying it's a long time coming. You feel the same way?
No, I don't think it's a long time coming. I mean, when it came, which was a little bit of a surprise to get on the ballot. The main thing is to be nominated and on the ballot. That's your first obstacle there, and then to win that, I couldn't get any odds on. I didn't know what the morning line was on me there, but I do know I had a lot of supporters, and the writers and racing writers always been very kind to me, and always wrote nice things. So I felt like I had a lot of support there.
King, is this something that you share with, of course we know you share with your stable and your family, but your wider Maryland racing family, the trainers you come up with, the different people around the track? I know
Well,
they feel a part of it with you.
Yeah, well, one of the things coming up is the main thing when you first get in the game, all you want to do is survive, really. And just to make it and get along, not to make any money or make any headlines or anything. You just want to exist in the game and have enough coming in for survival. And then once you get you get kind of a bug there to try to be leading trainer once you get to that status of having enough horses to compete. And that happened back in the 70s, I guess, is when it was what the racing writers called the Big Four, John Tamaro and Dickie Dutrow and Buddy Delp and myself. And it was our competition that really drove us to really try hard and try to beat the other guy. I mean, that was the objective, to start a meet out and try to beat those guys. And Delp was the initial leading trainer. And then we all kind of tried to knock him off. And I was very fortunate to be on top many, many years of that group.
Building on that question, one of the criticisms levied sort of against both Xtra Heat and you, King, is you're the leading home run hitter in AAA ball. You're doing a lot of sort of quote-unquote minor league things and not running in New York a lot, et cetera,
Yeah.
et cetera. Do you guys feel like having two of you going at once like this to some extent says something about Maryland racing that's sort of validated?
Well, it's a legitimate complaint. I think a lot of people believe in order to be at the top, you have to compete with the very top all year long. And of course, and that's not me. I'm right here in Maryland. I was born and raised, and there's one. I remember one year in the Preakness, that horse in the Preakness, and the racing forum, whoever was doing the article was analyzing every trainer in the race. And when he got down to Leatherbury, he said, "Leatherbury is as Maryland as crab cakes." That was his. So no, I'm a Marylander, and that's it. I had no reason to try to leave here, and I just grinded out right here. And our racing's getting better. I want to pay a compliment to the new management here. They're working hard to really elevate our racing even better.
For Mr. Taylor, can you speak to your early memories of buying into Xtra Heat? You know, kind of what you saw in her, and when you sort of first saw the greatness in her, I guess.
Let's just be very clear. I had no clue about what I was buying, but I had John Salzman Sr., which is a partner in the horse. We were standing in the back, and to make it quick, we bought 3 horses that day. And the first 2, we went to the depository to look at them to make sure they were okay. We didn't have enough time to look at Xtra Heat, so we had to make a decision of whether to take her or not. And he said put on the van, and when we got back, she had an ODC lesion. So much for ODC lesions. that didn't make much difference. So, but, you know, we worked to the only thing that I remember, the best thing I remember that was scary was Mark Johnson worked her in the morning in the dark, 5 furlongs. She went in 109 and some change. And Mark, we asked Mark, how did she do? He said she did spectacular. So we had to work her the next day again. But she was a monster.
After all those races where, you know, she's just crushing the competition here in the Mid-Atlantic, and then you step into the Breeders' Cup, and this whole thing that Frank was talking about, like the perception of Maryland kind of being AAA to a lot of people. In your mind, what did you think when you went into the Breeders' Cup the first time with her?
Well, the first time we went in the Breeders' Cup, she was going to mile in 16.
Oh no, that's right.
The second time was a sprint.
Time.
See, my thing is about Maryland racing, I think people are a little whacked out. Because if you bring New York horses here, they get their butt kicked regularly. Okay, I mean regularly. So I think that's a little overweighted. I know they got the Triple Crown and Saratoga and that type of thing. But normally when you come here, you know, you can get your butt beat. But as far as running against in the Breeders' Cup, it was against the boys. I wasn't crazy about that. She was in post 1. I wasn't crazy about that. And you know, I thought that she would be in the top 5. So when she turned the corner, I thought she was gone. And then squirt, nailed her at the wire. So.
Now the 5,000, that was the total price for her. That wasn't just your.
Yes, there's been a lot of people been saying that 10 people tried to get her.
Yeah.
That was not true. No. Okay, there was $5,000 put up. That was it. Nobody else bid it. Now Scott Lake, when we ran her for $25,000 maiden claimer, Scott Lake, which is a friend of mine, he had a claim slip in for her, and he forgot to do it before the time ran out. So the horse he had, we beat, and he never got it, and she never ran claim race.
And now you're not friends with her.
No, we still friends. We still friends. I wouldn't have been friends with him if.
Can you describe how you got into the trade initially?
How I started?
Yeah, how you started.
Well, one thing, my father was a small-time breeder and owner, and he introduced me to the game by just taking me to the races. I didn't live too far from Marlboro racetrack. Upper Marlboro had a racetrack, a little half-mile track, and it was fun being there for me. I mean, there you could practically, touch the horses as they went by you, and so that was, and then Bowie was one of my favorite tracks. So it was close to there, and so that's what got me interested. I like the fact of handicapping, trying to figure out who was going to win. I've always liked to gamble on things, so that fit right in line with it. So then I studied as much as I could the whole time I was in college at the University of Maryland, which is right next to Bowie and Laurel. And then I forgot where I was. Now so then I went in the Army for 2 years. And while I was in the Army, I just tried to read up everything I could on horse racing. So as soon as I got out of the Army, I got my trainer's license in 1959. Went down that was 58, my first year. Training horses on my father's farm. Then we took horses down to Sunshine Park, which is now Florida, Tampa Bay. They changed the name. It used to be Sunshine Park. And that's where I got my first win, a horse called Mr. L, early 1959. And the one thing I learned, then I went back the next year to Sunshine Park. The 2 years I've raced in Florida and learned one thing about, Florida has an East Coast and a West Coast. And on the East Coast is where all old people live. On the West Coast is where their parents live. In fact, there's one town down there, not far from Florida Downs, that nobody dies in. There's only been one death in the last 20 years, and that was the Undertaker. He starved to death. That's the joke of the day.
We're good.
King, do you have any particular claim that stands out as your best claim?
Well, taking risks. When it was grade 1, so we claimed him. I think it was for 20,000. So that's you don't do that very often. But I've made a lot of nice claims and made a lot of bad claims too. Of course, that's the way it goes. But we've claimed enough horses that went on to win stakes, and very, very fortunate for that.
King, have you always felt that your success as a trainer flowed directly from your interest in handicapping? I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I do it every day. I've tailed off here. I'm in a slump right now, but I keep trying. That's what I'm trying. If I don't get it right, I'll try again. And as long as I got some money holding out on me.
Yeah, you just got in the Hall of Fame. You're in a big slump.
Okay.
Hey guys, if you want to do any one-on-one or anything, go right ahead. Okay. Thanks very much. Thanks very much for helping.
Okay, congratulations. I
Thank
gotta
you.
go to work, but I'm
All right,
glad to
thank
see
you.
you guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's great